3 bone-chilling true hidden camera horror stories that haunt you forever. The camera never lies, they say. But what if it does? What if the truth it captures is darker than anything your imagination could conjure? Brace yourself. This tale will send chills racing down your spine and make you question every creak in your home. Tonight, we're exploring 3 incredibly eerie stories that emerge from behind the lens, stories so sinister that they'll haunt your dreams. In a quiet, suburban neighborhood, a family unsuspectingly became the focus of a silent observer. They thought they were alone, making memories in their cozy living room while a hidden camera ran silently in the corner. But as the family laughed and exchanged stories, an unseen presence, lurking with malicious intent, was recording every moment. Every giggle and echo of innocence. Yet, the camera had already captured a shadow moving swiftly behind them, a figure that didn't belong. It was only in the dead of night when the unsuspecting father would replay those recordings, unaware that the laughter would soon turn to screams. He gasped as he spotted those fleeting glimpses of a dark silhouette standing just behind his children. What was it? Was it even human? As paranoia crept in, sleep became a distant memory, and safety a forgotten concept, but that's just the start. Picture this: a college student moves into a shared apartment, eager for a new beginning. Days turned into nights filled with studying and laughter, yet something felt off. Random items started disappearing, only to reappear in odd places. But it didn't stop there. She set up a hidden camera, thinking it was just her messy roommates. The footage revealed something far more unsettling: a woman wearing a tattered dress, wandering through the dimly lit hallways of their home at night, her face obscured. The student found herself awake at 2 a.m., jaw clenched, heart racing. Each replay of the tape tightened the knot in her stomach, and she felt as if she were being stalked by something that didn't belong in her world. And then this one doozy. Late one night, a family thought they'd do a little experiment. Why not install a hidden camera in the backyard to catch the wildlife? What they uncovered instead was something straight out of a horror film. They captured a figure cloaked in darkness, performing some unnerving ritual under the flickering light of the moon. Animals scattered, abandoning their instinctive behaviors as if sensing true danger. The camera recorded every grotesque movement, the figure swaying, mumbling something that sounded eerily like a chant. The family never expected their peaceful suburban life to unravel into a nightmare of mystery and dread. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. And what about the aftermath? Each family faced the chilling realization that they weren't alone. That sense of safety shattered like glass. A race against time began, as they struggled to uncover the identity of the lurking figures. Who were they? What did they want? The sheer terror lingered in the air, leaving a thick density that pressed against their chests, making it hard to breathe. As the families dove deeper into their discoveries, the thrill of fear kept them awake at night along with their shadows. As stories unfolded, one question loomed larger: how many more eyes were watching from the darkness, hidden and uninvited? Hours turned into sleepless nights for the families haunted by their hidden camera footage. The sense of dread seeped into their bones, gripping them tightly with every creak, every whisper of wind outside their walls. It was a new reality, a dawning horror that left their hearts racing and minds churning. In the cozy suburban home, John, the father, decided it was time to confront what lurked in their shadows. Armed with determination and a racing heart, he set up additional cameras, this time in every corner of the house. He needed to gather proof, confront the darkness head-on, and reassure his family that evil wouldn't overpower them. But deep down, John questioned whether his bravery would uncover answers or plunge them further into terror. Meanwhile, the college student, Megan, had begun to feel the effects of fear. She couldn't concentrate on her studies, and every corner of their apartment felt like a portal to another world, a world of darkness and uncertainty. Her roommates remained oblivious, the mundane details of their lives drowned out by her inner turmoil. She began compiling notes, piecing together the odd occurrences she'd witnessed: missing items, strange noises, and that chilling figure wandering aimlessly at night. When she finally mustered the courage to confront her friends, they laughed it off. "You just need to chill, Megan," one said, rolling her eyes. But Megan was not laughing. As they retreated to their rooms for safety, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. That night, she replayed the footage again. Her heart thumped as she watched the shadowy figure glide through the frame. It turned slowly, revealing a glance that felt unsettlingly familiar. The echo of her own haunted face just an inch away from the lens made her freeze. Meanwhile, the family who discovered the cloaked figure performing some bizarre ritual had decided to take matters into their own hands. Driven by fear and fascination, they delved into research, uncovering a web of ancient lore and urban legends tied to their land. They were convinced whatever haunted their yard, it connected to something deeper. As they debated their options, suburban life unraveled outside their home, neighbors whispering fears of vanishings and strange occurrences. They chose to venture into the backyard once more, armed with flashlights and a sense of trepidation. What they found, however, gripped each of them with equal amounts of curiosity and horror: a circle etched into the earth, surrounded by small animal bones. The air thickened, and each whisper of wind turned into a voice, as if coaxing them back to safety. But there was no turning back. That night, filled with unsettling visions, each family found themselves in their own nightmares: spirits standing just beyond their sight, shadows dancing on the walls. The following day, they converged unknowingly at a local coffee shop, where their lives would intersect in a way none of them could predict. Voices mingled, and pieces of horror would begin falling into place with each heartbeat, a drumroll of impending revelation. But little did they know, the true terror was just beginning. What would they discover when they dared to confront the truth that lay hidden in the corners of their lives? And would it bind them together, or tear them apart? The clock was ticking. John's pulse raced as he reviewed the footage from the newly installed cameras. He sat alone in the dim glow of the monitor, the flickering images reflecting on his anxious face. He had watched it dozens of times, but each viewing was a new descent into paranoia. The house felt like it was alive, breathing a heavy sigh that was impossible to ignore. With every creak of the floorboards, his stomach tightened. He clicked play again. The footage showed his family, blissfully unaware, going about their lives, but every so often, a fleeting shadow disrupted the normalcy, the same shadow that seemed to evaporate before it could be fully grasped. His heart sank. Was he becoming unhinged? Suddenly, the front door opened. John's wife, Laura, entered carrying groceries, her brow knitted with concern. "John, are you okay? You've been glued to that screen for hours," she exclaimed, dropping the bags on the table. "It's the cameras, there's something. I don't know." John rubbed his temples, fighting off the exhaustion clawing at him. "I need you to watch this." He glanced at the footage again, determination washing over him. This time, he highlighted the moments, the flashes of something unnatural, his indecision bubbling to the surface. "What am I even looking for?" Laura asked, squinting at the screen, then recoiling at the sight of the dark figure. "Just look. That's not normal, is it?" His voice cracked, revealing the torment he had been trying to suppress. "I think it's just a trick of the light," she replied, but her tone wavered, darkness creeping into her gaze. In the coffee shop, Megan sat at a corner table, surrounded by laughter and the clinking of cups, but she felt utterly alone. Her roommates chatted unknowingly about weekend plans, while her thoughts circled back to the video. Even in a crowded space, she felt the icy fingers of dread lace around her heart. She pulled out her notes, scribbled fragments of the bizarre events, and confronted each unsettling detail. It was that face, her face. There was no denying it. It haunted not just her dreams, but now her waking moments. The memory of the shadowy glance lingered in her mind like an echo. Taking a deep breath, she stood up, her resolve hardening. It was a risk to speak up in this cheerful ambience, but the weight of her knowledge felt suffocating. "Megan, you good?" One of her friends called out, raising an eyebrow. "I need to tell you guys something. It's serious." Murmurs of curiosity swept across the table, and the laughter dwindled. Back at the family's home, tension was palpable as they gathered together after dinner. The discoveries unearthed in the backyard gnawed at them relentlessly. They discussed their findings, the circle and the bones, every mention renewing their horror. "Do you think it's tied to what we saw?" One of the kids whispered, his voice barely above a breath. "Things like this don't happen without reason. We need to find out what it is," the father responded, conviction lacing his words. But fear dipped its fingers into their resolve. As night enveloped the world outside, shadows loomed larger. The air turned thick, strangely heavy with unspoken fears. Each family turned in for the night, settling under layers of blankets, hoping for rest, yet fearing what the dark would unveil. But while they slept, the cameras continued their watchful gaze, recording what was meant to remain hidden. In Megan's nightmares, the shadow took shape, a warning or an omen. Each night blurred into the next, visions intertwining until she could no longer tell where the dream ended and reality began. Then came the sound, a soft knock, hesitant yet insistent, echoed irreversibly through the hallways of her mind. Would the answers they sought lead them down a path of salvation or destruction? As morning approached, they each braced for the unraveling of their truths. The moment they feared most was nearly upon them. Megan gripped her notes tightly, her fingers trembling as the sound of the knock persisted. It wasn't like the familiar knocks of her roommates returning from nights out, this was something else. Each rap against her door resonated deeply within her, sending a shiver racing down her spine. "Who's there?" Her voice was a whisper, barely bridging the distance between her and the unknown. Silenced. A heartbeat later, it came again, louder this time, demanding to be answered. The knock felt like it was tearing through the fabric of her reality, pushing her to confront whatever lurked beyond the threshold of her safety. She gathered her courage and crept toward the door, heart hammering in her chest. Each step felt like a thunderclap in the quiet night. Her mind raced back to the dark figure, the face she recognized but couldn't place. Was this an omen or just a figment of her overactive imagination? Taking a deep breath, she swung the door open. No one stood there. Just the empty corridor, dimly lit by flickering lights. Anxiety closed around her like a vice. Was she losing her grip on reality? She stepped out, peering into the gloom, her breath mingling with the chilly air. A familiar feeling swept over her, an eerie sensation that she was being watched. She pulled her phone from her pocket and activated the flashlight. The beam sliced through the darkness, revealing shadows that danced ominously behind furniture and against the walls. "What were you expecting?" she muttered to herself, moving back toward her room. Yet a thread of curiosity whipped through her, pulling her back again. Megan paced her room, her mind racing. The memories of the shadow weighed heavily. What if it needed her? What if it had a message? She recalled John's footage, the fleeting darkness within his home. The possibilities twisted around her thoughts, until all she could think about was the urgency to divulge her findings. After gathering her courage, she stepped back into the hall. "Guys, you need to hear this," she called out, her voice echoing in the emptiness as she moved toward her roommate's doors. No response. A pit of dread unfurled in her stomach. She knocked on the first door. "Emily. Keith. Are you awake?" Nothing. Panic surged within her. What if they were in trouble? The idea sliced deeper than any fear of the unknown. She knocked harder, desperation coating her voice. "Please, open up." In a sudden flash, she felt the cold brush against the nape of her neck. She turned sharply, but again, nothing. Breathing heavily, she stumbled back toward her room. Suddenly, the sound of a muffled voice broke through the silence, low and distorted. Megan, was it her mind playing tricks again? "What do you want?" she shouted, her bravado faltering, dread clenching her throat. The voice grew louder, now infused with an unsettling urgency. "You have to run." With each passing second, the fear surged again. It crashed through her, drowning any rational thought. She grabbed her phone, ready to call out for help, but stopped as she remembered John's camera footage, how it captured everything. What if the answer to her panic lay within those recordings? Meanwhile, John and Laura tossed and turned, plagued by their own nightmares. The house creaked around them, a living entity responding to their disquiet. Suddenly, they both jolted awake in unison, drawn by an unseen force. John's heart raced as he felt compelled to check the footage again. There was something vital he had missed. The truth was lurking somewhere just beyond his comprehension, waiting to ensnare them. As he replayed the grainy footage, Megan's plea echoed in his ears, threading through their minds. The shadow, the ominous words she had spoken, they were all tangled in the same web of horror, but as the screen flickered, a new image formed. A face emerged close, too close. What did it mean? Who was it? A chill swept over him. As day broke, rising with a promise of confrontation, Megan's path would intertwine with John's, and the shadow that haunted them both had yet another revelation to offer. Now that they stood at the brink of discovery, would they dare to step into the light, or would the shadows pull them down into the abyss? Megan's mind raced like a wildfire as she struggled to process the urgency in that voice. It felt surreal to be standing in the hall, torn between the darkness that beckoned her and the flickering lights overhead. Something was definitely off. She needed to know more. She shoved her phone into her pocket and dashed down the corridor, propelled by a mix of fear and determination. Each silent door loomed like a barricade, shielding whatever secrets lay behind them. She could feel the chill creeping closer, gnawing at the edges of her sanity. "Emily. Keith." She called again, louder this time, her heart pounding like a war drum. No answer. Just the echoes of her own panic bouncing back at her. Suddenly, the lights flickered and then went out entirely. Darkness enveloped her, and she froze. The familiar warmth of her room now felt like a distant memory. She reached to turn on her flashlight but found the screen dark. The battery? It had just been alive. "Great," she whispered, attempting to keep her voice steady. The cold crept closer, prickling at her skin. Just when she thought it was over, she heard a soft whisper, haunting and close. "Megan, you need the truth." Fingers trembling, she pressed her back against the cool wall, trying to locate the source of the voice. Was it the shadows playing tricks, or was something else lurking just out of sight? Suddenly, something sharp grazed her arm. She gasped and jerked away, half expecting to see a figure before her. But again, nothing. Only the oppressive darkness and the gnawing dread. There was only one option left: John. The haunting echo of his footage buzzed wildly in her head. Her eyes adjusted slightly to the void around her. She turned toward the connecting door that led to his room, hopeful yet terrified of what she might find. The door creaked ominously as she turned the handle, and she peered inside. It was muted in shadows, but the outline of John's silhouette was clear against the dim glow of his laptop, the screen flickering erratically. "John!" she called out. "Are you okay?" He jumped at her voice, nearly knocking over a pile of books. "Megan! What are you doing here?" His face twisted in shock, the shadows casting a harsh light on his features. "I heard a voice. It said She took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing thoughts. "It said I needed to run. I think something is wrong with us." "Are you serious?" he asked, anxiety creeping into his voice. "I was just looking at the footage again. I swear I saw something different, something isn't right." Her heart raced. "What do you mean? Different?" John grimaced and pointed to the screen. "Let me show you." He clicked through the recordings, but as the frames flicked by, tension thickened the air between them. Each shadowy moment played over and over, teasing memories of the figure they'd both seen before. The panic began gnawing at Megan's insides. The evidence they were after was becoming the very thing haunting them. As the last clip paused, Megan's breath hitched. A quick shift in the frame caught her attention, a fleeting image. It was something, or someone, with a face that was eerily familiar. "Megan, look!" John said urgently. "Do you see it?" Silence fell, the room thicker with dread as they both leaned closer to the flickering screen. "I know that face," she whispered, fear tightening her throat. "But how? Why does it feel so familiar?" Just then, the lights flickered back to life, illuminating the room in stark reality. They turned around, and in the moment of relief, everything shifted. In the doorway stood a figure they both recognized, larger than any shadow that had haunted them, holding something that glinted like a knife, and for a brief heartbeat, the whole world went still. John's voice was a whisper, "We need to get out of here." And just like that, the chase had begun, but Megan's mind was racing far ahead. Who was it in the doorway, really? And what had it wanted from her? As they stumbled back, their hearts pounding, they felt the true weight of what was coming. The monster they sought was not out there somewhere, it was here. Close, waiting for them to make one wrong move. Megan stumbled back, her pulse racing. The figure in the doorway moved forward, the dim light revealing the twisted smile and the glint of the knife in its hand. "Hello, Megan," it said, the voice dripping with malice. John grabbed Megan's wrist, pulling her toward the window. "We need to escape. Now." They sprinted to the side of the room, but the figure was surprisingly fast, blocking their path with a low chuckle that sent chills down their spines. "Did you think you could just uncover the truth and walk away?" it taunted, taking a step forward. With every inch it closed in, shadows seemed to stretch, warping the light around them. Megan's throat tightened, she felt trapped in a nightmare woven together by fear and adrenaline. "Who are you?" she managed to ask, her voice barely a whisper. The figure paused, tilting its head, as if relishing the moment. "I'm the keeper of secrets," it hissed. "And you're about to learn what it really means to meddle in things you don't understand." In a pull of instinct, Megan ducked under the figure's arm and bolted to the door. "We have to move," she screamed, pushing it open despite knowing the hallway was still a risk. With John at her heels, they darted into the passage, the encroaching darkness wrapping around them like a suffocating blanket. They didn't stop to think, racing down the hall, heartbeats sinking in a frantic rhythm. The whispers from the shadows chased them, haunting murmurs echoing her name. "Megan, you need. We can't let it catch us," John shouted, glancing back as they reached the end of the corridor. The figure loomed behind them, its features dissolving into shadow. It was as if the darkness itself breathed, eager to consume them. Megan grabbed John's hand, pulling him into a side room just as the lights flickered again. "What if it knows where we are?" she gasped, pressing her back against the door. "What if we're trapped?" "We can't let it succeed," John replied, panting. "We have to find something, anything to defend ourselves." Their eyes scanned the room, cluttered with old furniture, dust particles swirling in the frigid air. On a rickety shelf, a heavy metal lamp caught her eye. Gathering every ounce of courage, she reached for it, the cold steel anchoring her as she held it tightly. Just then, the door trembled against her back. "You can't hide," the figure crooned, its voice vibrating with an unsettling harmony. "You are once again in my game." Panic surged in Megan's veins. What does it want? She thought, wrestling with the growing sense that their only way out was to confront the truth of whatever shadow had seized their lives. "We'll need to take that chance," John said, startling her back to focus. "What if we confront it? What if we force it to reveal itself?" Her heart raced again, and doubt plummeted into her stomach. What if it's stronger than us? What if we're just playing into its hands? "Then we'll have to be smarter," John said, determination igniting in his eyes. It relies on fear. What if we turn that around? Megan's grip on the lamp tightened. But how? It knows our fears. It thrives on them. Maybe we can turn the fear into anger. Take back control. They both hesitated, but the pounding at the door grew impatient, and they knew they had little time left. Let us do it, she breathed, channeling every ounce of fear into a fierce resolve. We face it. With a nod, they positioned themselves near the door, adrenaline coursing through them. On 3, we swing it open and confront it. Together. 1, 2. As she reached 3 and flung the door wide, the figure stood waiting, unyielding. Something in its eyes hinted at recognition. You think you can beat me? It laughed, a sinister echo resonating in the air. What is this game? Megan shouted, defiance simmering beneath her fear. And in that moment, the true horror began to unfold. As the creature took a step closer, a flicker of understanding ignited in Megan's mind. The connection, the familiarity, everything was beginning to make a sick kind of sense. Do you really want to know the truth? The figure whispered, chilling the air between them. Megan's heart sank. What have you done? The chilling laugh rang out again, and before she could process it, the room began to dissolve, warping into something unimaginable. Welcome to the real nightmare. And just like that, she realized she was standing on the edge of something much darker than she had ever anticipated. What was the truth, and how far would she have to dive to uncover it? The walls twisted as if they were alive, closing in on Megan and John. One moment, they were in the dusty, half-lit room, the next, it felt like they were submerged in a strange liquid darkness. It was suffocating. Shadows danced around them, each movement a whisper of dread. Megan clenched the lamp, the weight of it grounding her, but the fear was heavy in her stomach. John! She shouted, his form nearly indistinguishable in the depths. We need to stick together. John's voice came back, muffled, yet straining through the engulfing night. I'm right here. Just don't let go of that lamp. For a heartbeat, there was silence. The air shifted, charged with an electric tension. Then, with a violent jolt, they were propelled forward. Light exploded before them, illuminating grim faces twisted in agony. It was a hallway lined with mirrors, each reflecting their own horrified expressions. What is this place? Megan's voice trembled as she gazed at the reflections, noticing nothing but terror staring back at them. She took a step back, and the glass shifted, rippling like water. It's a trap! John exclaimed, panic lacing his tone. We need to escape. It's all in our heads, she whispered, desperately trying to convince herself. We can break free. Suddenly, the figure appeared, riding a wave of shadows, each stride devouring the light around it. You think you can escape me? It taunted, its voice echoes filled with sinister glee. You are in my domain now. The game has only just begun. Megan's breath caught in her throat. What do you want from us? Want? The figure paused theatrically, the sick smile widening. I want to show you the depths of fear, to expose your secrets. Not just yours. It pointed a bony finger towards the mirrors. But your friend's too. Confusion washed over her. John? What do you mean? And just like that, a mirror in front of them cracked open, revealing hidden secrets of John's past, a life intertwined with shadows of choices he wished were buried. Moments of betrayal, desperation, and even darker deeds unfolded, twisting her perception of who he was. No! Megan cried. That's not who you are. John's face paled, horror washing over him. That was years ago. I can't believe they know. Isn't it beautiful? The figure hissed, delighting in the chaos. You see, each of you hides beneath your masks. How much you hide from one another. But here, the truth is unveiled, raw and bleeding. Stop it. Megan screamed, stepping forward, gripping the lamp like a lifeline. This isn't how it has to be. Is it not? The figure shook its head slowly. You think courage can triumph over fear? The truth is poison, and you are mere mortals who play with it. You thought ignorance was your shield? John looked at Megan, desperation flooding his eyes. If it's going to show our truths, we have to face them. But what if, she started but was cut off by the sound of laughter echoing off the mirrors, consuming her words. It's too late for second guesses. The figure jeered. The darkness is hungry, and it wants you both. Fight back. John shouted, his voice a clarion call of defiance amid the shadows. We can't let it win. They steadied themselves, breathing in synchrony, hearts pounding with undeniable resolve. With a fierce shout, Megan raised the lamp, its metallic surface catching the flickering light. The reflections twisted, forcing back the shadows momentarily. The figure recoiled, its grin faltering. No. You can't. Now was their chance to break free of the mirror's spell. A leap toward the light, the unknown. Megan and John sprinted together, heartbeats echoing in defiance as they crashed through the shimmering glass, a shattering sound, like breaking chains, and then everything went dark. Megan awoke gasping, the chill of reality clawing at her mind. But something was wrong. Lighting flickered overhead. She was back in the room with the figure. It towered over her, no longer a shadow but shaped like someone she knew. Welcome back to me, it whispered. Panic surged through her as she recognized the face, a twisted likeness of her own. What have you done? The figure's laugh pulsed around her like a thunderstorm. Welcome to the true nightmare, Megan, where you face your own reflection. As the laughter echoing around her morphed into whispers, she realized she had slipped into a deeper darkness, a labyrinth where every path led to her most buried secrets. And deep down in that spiraling horror, a question roared louder than the others: how would she break free of the terror crafted from the very essence of her soul? The reflection of the figure grinned back with a haunting familiarity. Megan stumbled backward, her heart pounding fiercely in her chest. The walls seemed to pulse, closing in, almost taunting her. This isn't real, she muttered, desperation weighing her voice down. You're not me. Oh, but I am, it hissed. The words slithered through the air, wrapping around her like serpents. Every fear, every doubt, it's all yours. We are entwined, you and I. So why not embrace what you so fervently deny? Megan felt her breath quicken, each inhale scratching at her throat. Get away from me. She swung the lamp wildly, but it merely passed through the figure as though it were smoke. Show me how to escape. The only way out is through, it cooed, mocking her terror. Face what you've hidden, what you refuse to acknowledge. She felt a pull toward the mirrored walls, memories flickering against the glass like old film reeling forward. Each reflection was a piece of her life, a passionate argument with her mother, the haunting grief of her father's death, the betrayal of a friend she had once trusted. All of it washed over her in a torrential wave of despair. No, no, she whispered, falling to the ground. The weight of it all bore down on her. I can't face that. I can't. Suddenly, the room tilted. A new reflection emerged, an image she had fought to forget. A darkened alley, an argument escalating to violence. It was a moment she had buried deep inside, one she thought was dead and gone. Her heart sank as she watched herself take a step back, fear written all over her face. Look closer, the figure urged, its voice now a low whisper, coaxing her to see what you did, who you sacrificed. You turned away, and it cost you everything. The scene unfolded, raw and jagged. A distant scream echoed in Megan's ears, the haunting reminder of choices made in haste. Tears blurred her vision as she shook her head, as if denying the truth would somehow erase the memory. Why won't you let it go? The figure's tone changed, becoming sharp. There is no escape from what you are. This is your prison, and you've built the walls. She clutched the lamp tighter, its dim light flickering as the shadows surged against it. John's voice drifted into her consciousness, fragile like a whisper. You have to face it, Megan. We can't keep running. With that, a surge of strength rolled through her. No more hiding. She screamed, rising to her feet. I will not be defined by my past. The figure recoiled, its twisted smile faltering. Megan stepped closer to the mirror, heart racing, fueled by fear but also a stubborn ember of hope deep within. Show me what you have, and then let me go. The laughter that followed erupted into a cacophony of echoes that crashed down around her. So brave, so foolish. The nightmare only deepens. The mirrors shifted, the darkness swirling like a storm, engulfing her. Yet amidst the turmoil, sparks of light began to break through the shadows, igniting in her heart like fireflies in the dark. She felt something change, the past losing its grip. But just as she remained determined, a blade of ice ran through her body. She wasn't alone. John's silhouette emerged in another mirror, his face twisted in agony as the relentless shadows clawed at him, dragging him deeper into a realm of despair. Megan! He cried, desperation in his voice. Help me! No! She screamed, reaching towards him, but the glass rippled like water, separating them. I won't let this win. I promise. The figure cackled, the sound echoing in jagged waves. Sacrifice is the key. What will you give up to save him? Megan's heart raced as she faced the choice, the darkness calling for her willingness to sacrifice her own shadows, her own nightmares, risking the very essence of who she was. Could she save John? Would it even matter? As the last scene of light flickered out, leaving Megan enshrouded in darkness, a singular thought pounded in her mind: what would she truly gain, and what would she lose? She took a breath, ready to plunge into the darkness for him, and just then, as the chilling laughter echoed in her ears, the world around her began to shatter like glass, leaving her scrambling to find the truth within the fragments. But would she come out unscathed, or would the cost be too high? Megan felt herself falling, the ground slipping away as shadows clawed at her. It was as if the very essence of her being was being pulled apart, each fragment rattling against the darkness that threatened to consume her. Where was the light? Where was John? Everything blended into chaos, a whirlpool of memories and regrets that twisted like alive, writhing creatures, hungry for her despair. She reached out, grasping at the darkness, her fingers skimming what felt like the cool surface of a fading memory. Face it. The voice, chilling and smooth, wrapped around her like cold mist. You want to save him? Then you have to be brave enough to lose yourself. No! She cried out, fighting the urge to succumb. I won't surrender. I refuse. But the shadows laughed, a sound that ricocheted off the walls of her mind, splintering her resolve. Images flashed before her, each one sharper than the last. She saw herself again in that alley, the anger bubbling over, the harsh words exchanged. Her own hands, how could they have turned so violent? Megan. John's voice pierced through, cracking the darkness. You're stronger than this. Fight back. She focused on his voice, and for a moment, it was her lifeline. The memory around her dimmed, a fragile shield against the overwhelming tide. I'm here, John. I won't let you go. With clenched fists, she pushed against the weight of the shadows, determined to break free. Each scream, each haunting regret that echoed in her mind became fuel. She recalled her father's gentle words, the hope in her mother's eyes. Their love felt like light seeping through the cracks of her torment. Strength comes from within, she whispered fiercely. The darkness shifted as if sensing her resolve, snarling back at her defiance. But now, she felt a flicker within herself, growing brighter, a fiery ember that could not be snuffed out. Suddenly, she was thrust into another memory, a scene she hadn't witnessed in years, an empty house, shrouded in silence, the echoes of laughter long faded. She saw pieces of her life, the deep hurt and the feeling of abandonment twisted through the years. And then she witnessed herself again, small and fragile, feeling the weight of the world alone. "Stop!" Megan yelled, her voice reverberating with newfound power. "I won't be a prisoner any longer." The figure's laughter faltered, and the shadows recoiled momentarily. The mirrors around her flickered, unstable, as she surged forward. She would tear down those walls, face those fears head-on, and embrace the pain that made her who she was. "I choose to fight." As light began to pour through the fractures in the encroaching darkness, Megan felt the pull of the alley scene once more. Instead of fear, she approached it with determination. She would confront her past and not shy away from what she had done. "What will you sacrifice for him?" The figure spat, its voice hostile and mocking now. Her heart surged with resolve. "I'll sacrifice my doubts, my guilt, but not who I am. I will choose hope." In a blinding flash, the memory engulfed her, and she was standing there in the alley once again, the wind whipping around her. The night felt alive with tension. She could see the figure from before emerge from the shadows, but now, she wasn't stepping back. Instead, she faced it with steady grace. "I'm not afraid of you. I accept what I cannot change, but I will never be defined by my mistakes." She could sense John's presence behind her, solid and unyielding. The shadows gathered, a final attempt to pull her under, but she kept her focus. "Together, we'll fight this." And then, the world tremored violently, splitting like the very mirrors that betrayed her. A new reflection loomed large, pulling at the edges of their desperate reality. But that wasn't all. Something deeper stirred within. As John's voice broke through the chaos, mixed with her own strength, they both rushed forward, hands reaching out in defiance. "Hold on to me, Megan. We're stronger together." In that moment, the darkness surged again, even more vehement, an unrelenting force. An avalanche of choices and fears threatened to overwhelm them. But the chilling laughter erupted once more, sinister and dark, echoing in the abyss. "Do you really think strength can conquer all? What if you have to choose between him and your own truth?" The ground shook violently beneath her, and as visions of the past collided with her future, a terrifying question loomed, larger than any shadow: what sacrifice would she have to make to save John? And would it cost her the one thing she could never reclaim? Megan's heart thundered as the shadows swirled around her, pressing down with the weight of all she had ever feared. John stood resolutely beside her, his eyes fierce. "Together, Megan," he urged, anchoring her in this vortex of dread. "Together," she echoed, her voice trembling yet steady. With a deep breath, she squared her shoulders, bracing against the onslaught of darkness. Behind the chaos lurked the ghoulish figure, mocking them, growing bolder, edging closer. "What will it be?" it sneered, cloaked in a haze of malice. "Sacrifice your truth or lose him to the shadows." Megan faced the figure, her resolve hardening. Memories of the past, the alley, the hurt, her guilt threatened to consume her. But she felt John's warmth next to her, a lifeline in a sea of despair. "You're not real," she shouted, her voice a crashing wave against the tide of terror. "You don't define me." In response, the shadows surged, wrapping around John like tendrils, drawing him closer to their sinister embrace. "John!" she cried, instinctively stepping forward to grab his hand as the figure cackled. With a primal scream, Megan let her anger burst forth, channeling all the pain she had tucked away. "I choose hope." The lamp in her hand flared to life, illuminating a path through the darkness. Light, fierce and unyielding, pushed against the swirling shadows, sending them reeling. The figure twisted, its form faltering under the onslaught. Megan's heart raced as she felt the power of her decision saturate the air. "Leave him alone." She stepped forward again, each step booming with conviction as the blinding light pooled around her feet, reminding her of her truth. The shadows screeched, and suddenly, they weren't just facing the figure, but their greatest fears manifested, all the shame, guilt, and pain that had haunted them both. They were vulnerable, exposed. Yet now, In this moment, Megan recognized the power in that vulnerability. "Megan, I'm right here," John shouted, taking her hand firmly. "We face them together, we don't back down." Megan nodded, her expression fierce with determination. "They would confront everything. We don't fight alone," she boomed, and a palpable energy surged around them, a circle of light as they squared against the shadows, illuminating the reflection of themselves they had avoided for so long, and then, as if the universe shifted, the walls of the mirrored hallway shattered. Light erupted, swallowing the echoes of laughter and despair, cascading around them as fractures twisted open, letting sunlight flood in. The laughter faded against the surging brilliance of their resolve, leaving only light behind. The figure screeched and began to dissolve, whispering its final threats before vanishing. "You think this is over?" Yet its voice faded, breaking against the strength of joint uniqueness that Megan and John wielded together. Breathless, Megan stepped into the light with John's hand interlocked with hers. They burst forth into a bright landscape of reality, the oppressive shadows dissipating behind them, unable to follow. As they stumbled onto solid ground, sunlight blazed overhead, chasing away remnants of the nightmare. Megan looked over at John, relief flooding through her veins. "We did it," she whispered, breath hitching. "Together. The past is just that." "Past," John said definitively, squeezing her hand. Shared warmth pulsed between them, a beacon against what they had endured. They had faced their demons and emerged stronger, but even as joy filled the space, a small voice whispered at the edges of Megan's mind. The journey of healing wasn't just finished, it was ongoing. Each face they had confronted bore lessons. They would carry those truths, not as burdens, but as essential parts of themselves. "Megan," John said softly, looking deep into her eyes. "Whatever happens, I'm here." "I know," she replied, her voice steadied by his presence. Hope blossomed within her, blooming against the backdrop of everything that could have been lost. As they walked, side by side, into the warm horizon, each step pushed them forward into life, fully unafraid. And armed with truth. Together, they were woven from both light and shadow, a testament to the strength found in vulnerability. And beneath the surface of their smiles lay resilience that would carry them through whatever storms lay ahead. Now that the darkness had been vanquished and the truth unveiled, they felt the weight lift. Together, they had reclaimed their lives. And the whispers that once haunted them began to dissolve, replaced by echoes of hope and unyielding determination. What they discovered would forever bind them. Darkness can threaten, but together, light prevails. Hey, before signing off, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss more exclusive stories we've got lined up. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. And don't forget to flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about the ending. Let us know what you think. Lastly, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Real fans understand just how important it is to support the channel through these actions. Thank you for being a part of this journey.